Alright, so in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to do a ink reveal effect. Look like something's bleeding through some paper or something, you know, whatever, a t-shirt, whatever you want to have it bleed through, it's up to you. But it's going to look something like this. Probably without the eerie music though. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is create a new composition at 1280 by 720, 29.97 frames per second, and make it about 30 seconds long. And let's just name this main comp. Press enter, and now you're going to need a paper texture, which I've got this one. If you don't have a paper texture, then you should get one. Just hop on over to Google and type in grunge paper texture or something of the sorts, and there are plenty of resources for the paper texture. So like this one right here, it's a pack of different paper textures, high resolution and free, which are two good things, free and high resolution. Okay, now we're going to drop this paper texture into our composition and press W on your keyboard to bring up the rotation tool, and you're going to want to orient the layer so it kind of matches the composition's aspect ratio, like that. If you're going over the edges with the resolution, that's good. We'll use that later, so just keep this the same size like that. Now we're going to use our type tool to type in ink, not inky, just ink. And so if you type with the type tool, you can type your stuff and then press enter on the number pad, and that will close out the text tool. I was using Adobe Garamond Pro is the font that I'm using. And if you press the apostrophe key on your keyboard, it'll bring up the title safe guides here, and we can center this up with the composition, because this has vertical and horizontal ticks there that show you the center, which is good. Now we're going to create a new solid, have it the same color as the text, which I'm using kind of like a grayish dark brown. It's my personal choice, don't hate me for it, it's just what I chose. I know I could have used black, but I felt that this looked better, okay? Artistic license, okay? You can make it green or blue or purple or red. Red would actually look cool because it'd be like blood, but that's another story for another time. Alright, go ahead and turn this layer off so you can't see it, and go up to your mask tool and get the square tool. If you don't know how to get the square tool, you can hold down Alt and click until you come up with a square shape, like that. Awesome, wonderful. Now we're going to draw some lines, right like this, and we are going to turn this back on so we can see it, turn the layer back on. With the mask selected, press Ctrl C, and then click on the layer to deselect the mask. Press Ctrl V, which will duplicate the mask. Oh wait, you could probably just press Ctrl D. Yeah, my apologies. You can just press Ctrl D if you select the mask. Be way simpler. Now use your arrow keys to bring the line down here, like so. So let's do up a little bit like that. And center, turn the guides off so you can see better. Center up the text with the lines, like that, that's about good. Now select both these layers and precompose them by pressing Ctrl-Shift-C. And we're going to name this text, like that. You can also press Command-Shift-C if you're on a Mac. Those are generally interchangeable, Command and Control. Okay, now we're going to create a new solid again. And we're going to name this one Matte. Whoopsies. Make sure it's the comp size, color doesn't matter. Go to the effects and presets and choose fractal noise. You can search for it, or it's also under noise and grain. Drop that onto the solid, and we're going to change the contrast ratio up to 350. And this is going to be our ink transition effect essentially. And we're also going to take the brightness down all the way until you have it completely black. Watch out for like little things like this can be bad, so just get it completely black. And then set a keyframe for the brightness, and with that layer selected, press U to bring up the keyframe, and let's go down to like 5 seconds and take the brightness all the way up so that's all the way white like this. And so we're going to use this layer as a track matte. It's going to be a Luma track matte. So what that means is that anything that's black is going to be transparent, and anything that is white is going to be opaque. So as you can see, that's going to change throughout the length of this little clip here. Now if you don't see your modes in your track matte, right click on this bar and go to columns and make sure modes is selected. That'll bring up both the modes and the track matte. With the text layer selected, go to the track matte and choose Luma matte. There's also Luma inverted, which is going to be the opposite. So anything that's white is going to be transparent, anything that's black is going to be opaque. So you can see, there we go. We've got the little ink effect. Slightly. We got to do some more work though. And that's pretty much the basic part of it. So now let's duplicate both of these layers. Control D. And we're going to offset it a little bit. Like about that much. And let's make this first layer that we had. Press T to bring up the opacity options and change that to 50%. Like that. And let's go ahead and add a blur to this also. If you right click on the effects controls and go to blur and sharpen, fast blur, and we'll blur it out a little bit like that. So then you can see it's kind of like, makes it look more like ink coming through, or some sort of a wet substance. Now this still doesn't look great, so let's add some texture to the text layer. So click on the text layer, double click it to open it up in a new composition. Select both these layers, and we're going to pre-compose these again by pressing Ctrl-Shift-C or Command-Shift-C. And let's name this layer Life Before Crack. And click OK. Now you're going to need another texture, which is this one right here. And this one can be downloaded from this awesome website called cgtextures.com. They have a ton of textures, and they're free in high resolution, and you can pay for even higher resolution ones, and it's great. So go to this website, and then go to Grunge, and click on Crackles, and then scroll down, and here it is right here. So click on that, and you'll download it. These are pretty high resolutions that they offer for free, but then you can also pay for the higher one. So, but this is good. Just grab the largest one and start a collection of textures. As you download them, put them into a folder. I've got this huge folder of stuff. So I've got this huge folder with tons and tons of images that I've kind of started categorizing, sort of. So, and I've got Action Essentials stuff, and just start collecting everything and back this folder up, or else you'll be really angry when you lose it, which I need to back it up now that I say that. So once you have that texture downloaded, bring it into After Effects and drop it above the Life Before Crack layer. And we're going to do the track matte again, the same Luma matte. And let's select this layer and change the size of it, the scale, so that the cracks are smaller, and you can even squish the aspect ratio of it. Isn't too important right here to get more lines in there. Alright, and we're also going to mess with the curves. So if you right click on the effect controls and go to color correction and curves, we'll change up kind of the way that it's going to affect the text. Like this. Quick tip, if you wanted to get even smaller cracks, you can go to the effects and type in Reptile, CC Reptile, And you can throw this on here. And we could scale this down even more, like this. And then with the reptile, you can expand it to the right. Let's go ahead and turn this on so we can see it. Expand it to the right, left, down, and up. And then you can also blend the edges so the lines are less apparent. And you can even change the way that it repeats itself just to have a better effect there. Let's do turn counterclockwise. If we turn this off, you see now that our lines are thinner and there's more cracks and stuff like that. So that's a quick tip. Now let's go back into our main composition. We've got these cracks and it looks nice. Look at those cracks, that's cool, that's good. So that's what that looks like. Now let's add a camera, new camera, and also add a new null object. Make the null object 3D. Oh, and ignore that warning about things not being 3D, because we'll do that in a second. Okay. Now parent the camera to the null object, and actually let's name this camera control, just to make things a little bit simpler. And so now we have to make all of these layers 3D by clicking on their little 3D thingy there. And if you press Control A to select all the layers and U, it will collapse all the layers. Now let's go to the beginning of the composition and click on the null object and pull it back a little bit in the Z axis and press P for position and go ahead and press R for rotation and set a keyframe for the Z rotation. And then press U again, and it'll show you both of your keyframes. Now go down to like 10 seconds, and let's bring it back in like this. And let's go ahead and move this Z rotation keyframe down here, and go back to the beginning. And we will rotate by pressing W, and rotate on the Z axis. Whoa! Losing control here. There we go. So now you'll see it doesn't do what I want it to do. Hold on. Oh, that's why. If your rotation tool is set to orientation, then it'll mess things up. You want it to be set to rotation, or you can also just mess with the numbers here, like this. So now, that looks better. Okay, now we're going to add the rest of it with the ink, kind of like coming in towards the center. And what we are going to do for that is create a new solid. We'll name this full. Click OK. Color is important on this one. It's whatever color you want the ink to be. And duplicate that by pressing Control or Command D. And press Enter on this layer to rename it. And we'll name it full matte. Like that. Go ahead and either grab the fractal noise effect off of the matte layer or just apply it again. Let's just do that. So noise and grain, fractal noise. Set the contrast to 350. Brightness all the way down, like that. And set a keyframe on the brightness. Press U. And go to 5 seconds. You really could just copy the other effect off of the other layer. It would be quicker. But you know me, wasting time. Okay, so same thing's happening here. Blah, 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 blah. Do the track matte on the full layer to be Luma, so that it's being revealed like this. Ah. Now that we have that done, we're going to precompose both of these layers by pressing Control-Shift-C, Command-Shift-C. And we will name this the darkness is coming. Does darkness have 2 S's? I'm not sure. I think it looks right. Yeah, okay, let's do that. The darkness is coming, however you spell darkness. Click OK, and we are we're going to add a mask, a circular mask. So you'll hold down Alt again on your mask tool and click it until you get to the circle, and then double click to apply the circle like this. And we are going to change the mask to subtract. So it looks like that. So right now, if I turn this mask off, you'll see that the effect is happening all at once, and we don't want that to happen, because like in the example, it's gradually coming in. So the way we pull that off is we have this mask, which we're going to subtract, and we want to press M twice while the layer is selected, or 4 times I guess, to show the mask options. And we're going to feather out the mask a little bit here, so we can control the mask expansion a little bit. But if we just animate it, it's like set a keyframe on the mask expansion, it's not going to do anything, because it'll essentially end up looking like this at a certain point, which is not what we want. Alright, so you want the mask just to be on the edges, so mess with the expansion until it's like that. Now we're going to duplicate this layer and press MM again, and we're going to bring the mask expansion in a little bit, like that, and then duplicate it again, Control D, press MM to reveal the mask options, contract it more, like this, and one more time, MM, and contract it all the way like that. Actually, let's do just a little bit, and once more, MM, contract it all the way. Now what we're going to do is press Control A and hit U to collapse everything, and we're going to stagger each of these layers a little bit. Like this. Now it's going to gradually come into the center until it overtakes it completely. But let's click on this layer, just one of these layers, and let's change the scale of this a little bit to be, go to transform and scale, just to make it a little bit bigger. And let's go back into the main composition. Let's put some more space between each of these. Like that. Ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba. Like this. Yeah, we don't want that to happen. You want to space it so that you can't actually see the feathering happening. You can kind of see it. I guess it's not that bad. I don't know, mess around with it and see what you can get. So after we've staggered those, we are going to want to select all of them and press Control-Shift-C to, you know, precompose, Command-Shift-C, whatever. And let's change this one to darkness has come, even though it hasn't yet. But just do that, you know, whatever name you want to put on there. And we are going to make this a 3D layer, which you're going to see it's going to, even though the scale's not actually dropping, but the camera has been backed out further away, so it looks like it's smaller. So what we want to do is click on the scale or grab the corners and make it bigger like this, so that the ink will be turning with the camera movements and all that stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much it right there. Oh, but you also might want to duplicate this and stagger that layer again a little bit set this layer's transparency to 50, or opacity, sorry. Maybe not that far. And blur this out also. Fast blur. There we go. So that's roughly what it's going to look like. Now there's also another way to do the transition. If you make a new solid after we've deleted all the other stuff, and color doesn't matter. So now what we're going to do is with this new solid, we're going to select the pen tool, make sure Roto Bezier is selected, and just draw kind of like a stain shape, like the stain that you saw when you peed on the carpet the other day. You know, just kind of like a weird T or J type of mask thingy here. And we're going to go up to the effects, and I believe it's under stylize and roughen edges. Throw it on there, and you'll see if we deselect this, it's kind of rough around the edges already, but we need to do it more. So we're going to pump up the border like this, and edge softness you can mess around with however you want, like that. And I like to feather the mask here. Kind of brings in a little bit more there. And you can mess around with all these different settings. Not that one, because that one sucks. Like that, and sharpness we can take down a little bit, I guess. Something like that. And now what we're going to do here is go to the mask again, and mask expansion. We're going to take it down all the way, and we can press. We can click on the mask expansion and set a keyframe there, and go forward like 5 seconds, like we did before, and now go beyond the mask. And if you need your edges to be done all the way, you can always just resize this layer like that. Alright, and we're going to use a track matte just like we did before, but it's going to be an alpha track matte. If you don't know what an alpha track matte is, or what an alpha channel is, alpha is essentially like the transparency in the layer. If that makes sense. Hopefully it makes sense because I didn't explain it correctly. But select the text layer and choose alpha matte. So now we have kind of a different effect, and you can have more control over it, but it looks different. So yeah, that was quick. You can mess around with that to tweak it more and make it look better. But yeah, that's it. If you enjoyed this tutorial, then good for you. I would ask though that you subscribe to my channel and like or follow me on Twitter, and you know, let your friends know about this, because that would help. That'd be helpful. The more views I get, you know, the more of these I can make. So, you know, that's that. And check out my other stuff if you'd like to. Yeah. So this was good. This was a fun time that we had. But I'm gonna go now. So.